In this section of Chapter 10, we're going to be talking about using diazomethane to form methyl esters. So with this, we're going to treat carboxylic acids with diazomethane, which is CH2N2, to yield specifically a methyl ester. So in this process, we're going to start off with our carboxylic acid, so that RCOOH. We're going to put it in the presence of our diazomethane, so CH2N2, and we're specifically going to get out that methyl ester. So instead of having a hydrogen on the oxygen, we will have that methyl group on the oxygen. With this reaction, one of the byproducts is going to be nitrogen gas, which leaves our reaction. That formation of nitrogen gas helps to drive this reaction to completion, because it will leave our reaction flask and help make more products, because we'll be losing one of our products as a gas state reaction or product. One of the problems that we have with this reaction is CH2N2 is very toxic. It is also very explosive, so diazomethane is very, very difficult to work with. So one of the workarounds that we can use is, instead of using CH2N2, we can use trimethyl diazomethane instead. It's a little bit more stable, it's a little bit easier to work with, but it will generate the exact same product for us. So our trimethyl diazomethane is CH3,3SiCHN2. So we still get that nitrogen byproduct. The reaction will still lead us to the methyl ester, but it's a little bit easier to work with in the actual lab-based setting. So kind of keep that in mind and be able to recognize that this is going to behave just like CH2N2. For the mechanism that we're going to look at, though, we're going to specifically look at just using the CH2N2 in the mechanism to simplify the mechanism. But just recognize that that other compound will work just as in a similar fashion as the diazomethane. So for this, we start off with our carboxylic acid. And with our diazomethane, with that NH2 unit, we actually have a couple of different ways that we can look at this structure in terms of resonance structures. So one of them is going to have the double bond on either side of the nitrogen, and it puts the extra lone pair of electrons in the negative formal charge on the nitrogen. Another resonance structure that we can draw with this has the triple bond between the two nitrogen atoms, a single bond between the nitrogen and the carbon, which puts that extra lone pair of electrons and the negative formal charge on the carbon atom. It is this second resonance structure that we're going to utilize in order to run our mechanism. We're going to deprotonate the acid with that C- unit that we have in our diazomethane, so that we get to the carboxylate anion. And then we have a CH3 unit on that N2 unit, but it now has a formal +1 charge associated with it. So from here, we're going to take advantage of just our typical substitution reaction, where the O- will come in and attack the carbon. It will break then the bond between the carbon and the nitrogen, which will specifically then produce for us that methyl ester, as well as our nitrogen gas. So again, the trimethyl diazomethane will behave in the similar process. It would just be a little bit easier to work with than the true diazomethane that is shown in the mechanism.